Okay. Hi, welcome to 2025. I realized that this is gonna be my first video of the year. We are already 2 weeks into this year, which is just wild to me. Like, I cannot believe it's already the 14th of January. I have been working a lot on setting goals and kind of deciding what I want to do this year. I'm somebody where I will set like 25, 50 goals, whatever. I'll set a mass amount of goals and then halfway through the year I will fall off of them, or I just like forget about them, or I'll change and like decide I want to do something different. And this year I wanted to actually achieve the things that I say I'm going to achieve, and part of that is not setting as many goals and just focusing on like a couple big things for the year. I wanted to kind of tell you guys what my goals are for this year, and then I'm also going to get into how I am planning out these goals and how I'm going to actually achieve them, because we're going to do big things this year. I'm manifesting it, I'm believing in it. Like, this year I think it's just going to be really big for a lot of us, and I'm very excited. First things first, I like to set my goals in a few different categories. For the sake of this video, I have pretty much broken them down into like 4 to 5 categories, just because I'm trying, like I said, not to set too many goals, but I also want to make sure that I have a well-rounded life. It's something I'm trying to maintain this year, because 2024 was really kind of like a survival year for me. I had my baby in April. Since then, it has just been like survive, get through everything, like do what I can when I can. And now she's 9 months old and we're starting to get into like a better routine, and she's just like easier to do things with. So this year I feel like I finally have more energy and time to put into myself and my business and my goals. This tea is so goddamn hot. Oh my god, this tea is so freaking hot. My first category that I'm going to go over is my fitness and health, because obviously I love running. My big goal for this year is running a ton and running better than I have before. Every year I set myself like a mileage goal. So this year I picked 1,300 miles, which feels like a lot to me compared to last year, because last year obviously I was barely running at all, but I ran like almost 1,200 miles I think in 2023, and that was manageable, achievable, and so I figured 1,300 is something that is doable for me, but it's a little bit of a stretch. I am planning on racing my first 100 this year. I say it's my first 100 because technically I did sign up and start the Leadville 100 in 2023, but I started it 7 weeks pregnant knowing I wasn't gonna do it. So this is going to be my first actual like attempt, because in 2023 I pretty much was like, we're just going to run until I'm done. So I want to have a really strong 100-mile debut. I am also racing the Silver Rush 50 mile in July and the Leadville Marathon for the 4th time in June. And I want to do really well at those. I have time goals for those set. I don't want to share. I don't know. It just feels nice to kind of like have it just me, myself, and I know. I want to feel really strong racing this year, and I want to feel fast this year, because I know I can go the distance because I've built up my endurance, but my speed is just not there. So this year I really want to focus on that. I also, I climb for fun. I'm not like competitive, but it really helps a lot with like my mental health as well. This year I want to actually spend time improving. I can pretty consistently climb a V3, and then I can climb like 510C is like the highest grade I can climb. So this year I really want to be able to consistently solidly climb V4s and then climb a 511B, which may either feel like really overreaching or really underreaching. I don't know. I'm not a professional. This is kind of like a secondary fitness goal for me, so I'm not necessarily trying to like push myself too hard on this, because my #1 focus is ultra running and the 100-mile in August. The next 2 categories kind of overlap, which is why I sort of like put them together, is my business and creative goals, because my business is creative. I'm a photographer, filmmaker, like this is what I do for work. And so, as many of you know, as like entrepreneur, self-employed artists, like you understand that there's a ton of overlap. The whole work-life balance thing does not exist. My big focus this year creatively is YouTube. I want to put all of my effort into making long form content. With all of the stuff surrounding TikTok in the US and just Instagram's algorithm being all over the place, I want to really focus on long form content, which for me is video. I love video. I love making films and expressing myself visually. So for me, focusing on YouTube is going to be like my main goal. I'll still be posting a short form content and like photos and my work on other platforms, but like my big emphasis this year, like my main focus is going to be growing my YouTube channel, because I also would like to start making an income from my own social media platforms. I've worked with other people and I currently work with other creators who make money themselves from their social media platforms, and I help like manage those and strategize for those. I have the knowledge and the know-how on how to do this and how to monetize my own work. I just haven't honestly had the energy to do it, because I was spending so much of my creative energy focused on other people's stuff that I just didn't really have the time or energy to do my own. So I really want to be able to make an income off of my social media platforms, whatever that looks like in this next year. A mindset that I have around goals is, if the mountain is making money from social media, my path to get there, I can go whatever way up the mountain I want, because obviously as we have seen in the last like, I don't know, 6 months, social media is very volatile. People who own it are selfish, which makes sense. I get it, but also like, you need to calm down there. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, or say like I'm going to build up this certain platform and that's going to be where I make all my money, because as we can see, if the platform's not owned by you, you have no control over it. So if it goes down, you go down, unfortunately. That's like my little rant about why I am not being super specific right now with like how I'm going to monetize, but I will be doing that this year. It's time. We're ready. I also want to start shifting my work to more photojournalistic style, documentary style, and working more in like the outdoor conservation space. I have always wanted to do photojournalism. Not entirely sure what that's going to look like right now, but I want to do more in the conservation field. I want to do more publications and brands and like nonprofits and things like that, and have kind of like a separation between what I do on my social media and then like the work that I'm doing for other people. And that's something that I am working on right now in this quarter. If you have any advice for pitching to publications, let me know. If you're a nonprofit and you want to work together to tell a story, please let me know, because I'm all about sharing your mission and bringing other people's stories to life. The next goal section for me is learning. I'm somebody who loves learning. I love reading and learning different skills. As I just get bored. I just get really bored. I have set this goal for like 8 years straight, I think, to read 52 books in a year. I've done that in the past. It used to be a lot easier before I was working a ton, and then obviously last year, I actually think last year I read 39 books, even though I had the baby, because I was reading a ton when she was like sleeping on me. But this year I'm gonna do it again. I really want to hit the 52 book goal. We'll see. This year I've set this goal and I'm going to hold myself to this goal, but at the same time, if it doesn't happen, I understand. I also am going to work my little ass off to become fluent in Spanish. Half my family is Hispanic, and I grew up like hearing Spanish and kind of learning Spanish, but I cannot speak it. Like, I can understand a decent amount, I think. Jury's out on that one, but I cannot speak it. I'm not very good at reading it, and so I really want to be able to like be fluent in it. And I know a year is probably not gonna be enough time for it, which is fine, but I really want to make solid progress this year. And I also want to be able to like help Hazel learn and teach her as well, because right now is like the prime time to be teaching a kid a language, because she's 9 months old, so she's just a little sponge right now. So I say this year Hazel and I are learning Spanish. I also want to, one, learn how to grow my own food. I've grown like herbs and tomatoes and stuff here and there, but I really want to like have a garden. I'm not entirely sure what that's gonna look like yet, because we're still kind of trying to figure out like our space out here, but we have room to grow a decent amount of stuff. So I really want to set up a garden this year and put in time and effort into that, because I think that's not just good for your soul, but it's really good for your body. And I want to give back to the earth in every way I can, because Lord knows we need to do that. The second part of this is I want to learn how to make my own freaking sourdough bread. I have tried so many times and it has failed every freaking time. I don't know what it is. I can make kombucha. I have been brewing my own kombucha, like brewed. I have been brewing my own kombucha. I've grown 2 of my own scobies, like just from a bottle. I am a professional kombucha maker, and I have been for many, many many years and I love it. But for some reason, sourdough, even though it's the same kind of like fermentation concept, I cannot do it. I have tried to grow a starter 4 times. One time it almost worked and then it got moldy and really bad. And then every other time it has not worked. My bread has come out so bad. Oh my god, the bread is terrible. So this year I really want to learn how to make sourdough. I want to grow my own starter. We're gonna conquer sourdough. We can do it. I know I'm like 5 years too late from the pandemic sourdough fiasco, but I'm here. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna do it. My final category is self-improvement, which I think like all goals are like self-improvement, but this is kind of more just like focused on like me, and I like to think kind of like my soul and my spirit. I really want to get back into regular journaling. I used to do this all the time. I love journaling. I've journaled pretty much my whole life, but again, last year just threw me for a loop and I journaled like maybe a dozen times last year. It was just so much happened. I was so tired and it just wasn't gonna happen last year. So this year I really want to get back into consistent journaling, and I really want to get into like a daily meditation practice. I have always wanted to do this and I've never been consistent with it, but I can tell a really big difference in like my ADHD and my anxiety when I am consistent. I'm gonna do it this year. We're gonna do it. Even if it's small, we're gonna do it. And with that, I also want to get back into a consistent yoga routine. I love yoga. As an endurance athlete, my muscles and tendons and everything gets so freaking tight. Oh my god. Like sometimes there will be days or weeks where like touching my toes is impossible because of how tight my hamstrings are. And I have not been consistent with yoga in like over a year. Like even before I got pregnant, I wasn't being very consistent with it, and I just want to take better care of myself. This is not necessarily like a tangible goal, I guess. This is something where I just want to put more intentional time and effort into taking care of myself, like taking care of my hair because it's curly and falling out and growing back in because of the baby, and you know, like, so stuff like that. Taking care of my skin, taking care of myself physically, and prioritizing myself, because if you have children, especially young children, you know how easy it is to just completely forget yourself and completely forget taking care of yourself, like eating well or eating at all. This year I really just want to focus on taking care of myself and making sure that I'm also a priority. Yes, my child is my top priority, but at the same time I cannot take care of her if I'm falling apart. That's like one of my goals for this year that's kind of more vague and elusive, but I know what it means. Let's talk about the systems I'm putting into place and how I'm going to actually achieve these goals, because like I said at the beginning, I am not good at sticking with goals or just being focused and getting things done, and I'm a huge procrastinator. This year, we're actually gonna achieve things. I'm a huge Notion girly. Like, I love Notion. I created a template based on the 12-year principle plan, whatever you wanna call it. I do not recommend reading that book. It's repetitive. I don't find it very useful. It's a lot of just like, this is gonna solve your problems over and over and over again. You're like, but what's the plan? Pretty much the principle of it is that you set your goals for a quarter as opposed to for a year. So instead of being like, I'm going to learn Spanish in a year, you say in 12 weeks, I'm going to be able to hold a conversation with my neighbor who's from Mexico or whatever. And I've kind of always looked at goals like quarterly. So I will take my year goal and break that down into the quarters, and then break that down even further into like months. So since we're 2 weeks in, I think technically we're 3 weeks in. So what I've been doing is I picked 3 large goals that I want to achieve in 12 weeks and have broken it down into like weekly action steps and habits that I need to do in order to achieve those things. So my goals that I'm focusing on right now are to, 1, create consistent quality content across all of my social media platforms, because that will feed into the making an income from my platform, and then also like focusing on long form content here on YouTube. Second one is to create a photojournalism story. I'm like start to finish gonna do a story. I have like an idea. I have a rough idea of it, and now I'm working on kind of like fleshing it out. And then my third goal that I'm focusing on is I want to be able to maintain 50 miles a week running, and I want to just get stronger overall, like just building up my physical strength, because that will not only help with my running goals, but then also with climbing and just staying injury free. So those are like my 3 big goals that I'm working on right now. I also am implementing smaller habits and smaller action steps throughout the week that will help with my other goals. So like Spanish, for example, or reading, I'm trying to just switch things out. So like instead of watching TV, I'm reading. So my plan is, after these first 12 weeks, after this first quarter, is to then pick 3 more goals that are like the big overarching goals, and break those down and focus on just those goals for that quarter. Like I said, I have a lot of goals and a lot of kind of goals that like don't really need 12 weeks of focused effort. Like running 1,300 miles is not something where it's like, I'm gonna focus on that goal for these 12 weeks and that's gonna like complete it for me. You know what I'm saying? It is going to help for some of my bigger goals, like being fluent in Spanish and like my business, growing my business and things like that. That's what we're doing right now. If you are curious about my Notion template, I can walk you through kind of how I like have organized it and arranged it. I think that's everything like big this year I want to accomplish, because I am all over the place and I like lots of different things. I'm sure this list is going to change throughout the year. These are like the big things that I've wanted for a while and things that I want to achieve and accomplish that will get me towards like the big goal I have for my life. But I think this year is going to be really great for a lot of us. I think there's a lot of potential in 2025. I'm trying to stay open to what happens and what direction I'm taken in. I am just manifesting goodness for all of us this year. I hope this encourages you to set big goals for yourself this year, because I really think the more we believe in ourselves, the more we can actually accomplish. Like, I think if you set little tiny goals, you're just gonna stay in the little tiny box. So let me know what your big goals are this year, because like I said, I think big things are gonna happen and I'm really excited. I will see you on my next video where hopefully I've accomplished a few of these things.